Hi, and welcome to Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving, a podcast series by Tharaka Foundation focused on youth mental health. Before we begin today's episode, I just wanted to let you all know that all content that is found in our podcast is created for informational purposes only. This content is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, treatment, or therapy. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition, and never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard in this podcast. Thank you so much, and without further ado, let's get started.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us today again for yet another episode of Mindful Parenting. It's my pleasure to welcome Viji Iyer to today's episode. With me, Sister Rini is also here. The question was, why are we doing this? So, a little bit of background for those who are listening us for the first time. I had a fortune to record a podcast with Sister Rini, and the theme of that podcast was Peace Begins at Home. And we did that for International Peace Day, and that idea touched both of us. Parents are the role model for our kids. So, if parents are modeling mindful parenting, our kids are learning mindful habits, and they are going to be our future. And this world will become more mindful. Mindful spending, mindful eating, right? Everything mindful. So, peace is not very far from us. It is within us. It's just a matter of recognizing it. So we are bringing parents of different ages of kids and have a conversation. How is their typical day? How do they manage their challenges? Are they mindful? If they are not, how can they become more mindful? That's the intent of starting this series. And with that, I would like to welcome Viji. Viji, why don't you share a little bit more about yourself? Uh, Anything you would be comfortable sharing if you're working, and how many kids you have, and where are you joining us from? Anything and everything is welcome in this platform.
First off, I just want to take a moment to say it's such a privilege and honor to be a part of this conversation and part of this bigger mission. So thank you for having me and join in at this beautiful discussion. A little bit about me. I'm a working mother based in North Carolina. I've been working for over 15 plus years at this point in time. I have my elderly parents that live with us as well. We are originally from India, and then I'm the only child, so I just decided it was the perfect time to serve them as well. And the distance makes the heart grow fonder, and we decided that it's easier and more convenient to have them come stay with us. So that's what's been the case right now. In fact, my two kids, I have two girls, fourth grade and eighth grade. They're right now with their grandparents, while my husband is on a work trip. And I'm here having this wonderful conversation with you both. And I'm on the East Coast. So it's wonderful, wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Wow. So you are playing multiple roles, a role of a mother, a working parent, and you are serving your parents yourself. That's beautiful. So during this journey, how are you enjoying, and what are your challenges, if you don't mind?
Yeah. I mean, for one thing, we are three generations living under the same roof. So I'm very aware of that. It was a lot of, I would say, learning and unlearning I had to do. And I continue to do that on any given day. So, for starters, we all come with a certain level of textbook knowledge of what it means to be a daughter, textbook knowledge of what it means to be a wife, what it means to be a mother, what it means to be an employee, what it means to be a friend. Um, that helps to some degree. And then you have to throw the textbook away and say, okay, this is life. And things get very fluid. And it's like this beautiful melting pot of, as I said, three different generations coming together. Plus, I'm originally from India and now based in US. So there is also a cultural melting pot of my roots and my values and coexisting in the East and the West fusion, if you may. So just trying to find my identity over the years has been quite the journey. So having said that, on any given day, I try to start with more self-compassion for myself. And because I spent a good part of my younger years trying to live up to a certain standard of what it means to be a daughter, what it means to be a mother, what it means to be a partner, what it means to be an employee. So you're always striving upwards. And so in the process, I think I was moved away from my center and my balance of recognizing who I am. You have to stay rooted within yourself. And in fact, when things become much more multifaceted, you have to deepen your root. I can say that now. So I'm in the journey of deepening my own root and recognizing what it means to play all these multiple faceted roles and giving myself the permission to be compassionate, starting with myself, saying, I am who I am, and sometimes my best is going to look different on different days. My patience is going to look different on different days, and that's okay. I'll figure it out one day at a time.
Wow, that's so beautiful. We did touch little bit about all that what you shared in the past episodes, but today I think that identity piece what you brought up, I would like to dig deeper a little bit into that, and I will invite Sister Rini to share more about identity. I think I feel we do have identity crisis right now. We truly don't understand who we are. We are trying to fit in here, there. We are trying to do our best, but we don't know who we really are. Sister Rini, would you like to shed some light on this topic? Sister Rini, you are on mute.
Oh, sorry. Thank you very much. Yes, as Sister Viji said it very beautifully, that she's very aware of all these different emotions and different feelings, and they show up, and every day it's a different taste that she's getting of her own mental attitude, and she's very okay with it because she's very self-compassionate. And I think that's where you really start, because when you're starting from that place of equanimity, that no matter whatever is appearing in front of me, whether it's a feeling of sadness, whether it's a feeling of excitement, or whether it's feeling of frustration, another day maybe irritation, or maybe another day something else, and you are very compassionate with those feelings. You're not judging them, you're not taking them personally, so you're already starting from that place of equanimity. And if we can really start from that place, then I find our children are really kind of also receiving that, because how and what our attitude is towards our inner world, they are actually catching, and they are receiving that more rather than your words, or maybe what you're saying to them, but more how you're living it, and how you're really experiencing yourself at that deeper level of self-compassion. So I think you're doing a great job already of knowing who you really are, is that equanimous presence. And once we know that, then emotions are not really a challenge. They become like different seasons, different weather, right? And they just pass by, and they're not here to bother you in any way. They're just coming up to show you that's okay. I mean, I'm just coming here, and I'm just wanting to visit you for a short while, and I will pass by if you just let me pass by. And that's what I see you doing that already, that, and having your parents at the same time with your children in the same home. And it's like you're playing the role of a daughter and playing the role of a mother and a wife all at the same time. So I'm sure you're already doing a great job. And from what I hear, from what you have just shared with all of us, I do find it starts with that equanimity, with that compassion for oneself.
Yep, that's beautiful. So, Vijay, I wanted to ask you, What's your daughter's feedback when they meet with grandparents? Do they feel they do connect well, or as you were saying, cultural differences, right? You are born raised in India, they are born raised here, and sometimes with grandparents the language may not be the same, right? What they talk may not be sound like respectful. So any such things do you notice?
This is such an entertaining question, Poonam. I confess. I say entertaining because uh, among the different roles that I continue to play, one of the dominant ones that I play is that of a referee, so and a translator, it feels like on any given day, and a mediator, right? And so I joke, and I'm sure this is something you're familiar with. I joke about the fact that I'm always and forever going to be part of the sandwich generation where you're trying to make both ends meet and then you're sort of right in the middle of things converging. So having said that, honestly, on any given day, it differs as well because as I mentioned, both my daughters being 9 and 13, especially my 13-year-old is like in the thick of the teenage phase. And so she's exploring who she is, she's exploring her own emotions, she's testing her own um, limits, her own sense of freedom. She's trying to fit in with her peers. So she's dealing with her own circles of conflicts and tug of war on any given day. And I recognize, especially in schools and school buses, there's a lot of stimulus. It's overwhelming set of emotions that they are just, it's a floodgate of emotions that they are wrapped in, like this blanket, the moment they leave the household. And so when they come back, as children, would be, and it's the same thing for my 9-year-old as well. They come with all those emotions still wrapped up like a tight blanket around them. And so when they come home, it's like an unleashing of that blanket. And so they might have a big reaction my, towards something that one of their grandparents may have said or asked. And it comes out like an unleashing of a reaction or an overreaction. However, the grandparent might be reacting or responding to the response of what has just happened. But then it's only much later do you recognize that there's a lot of suppressed or pent up emotion which just sort of comes out because you're at home and home is your safe space. So they don't have the emotional regulation always to know when to say what and how will it be received. And so I'm sitting there sometimes witnessing it, observing it on the sidelines, and sometimes, smack in the middle of that and trying to, explain to one generation that they don't mean it when they say that. It's just a very practical way of how they would express. Whereas from the grandparents' point of view, there's a lot of conditioning. I recognize that as well. As you become a grandparent, you have decades of life experiences. So you have decades of multiple layers of meaning that you have absorbed. And so the way you perceive things is very sort of layered as a grandparent, whereas as a child, there is that influence of being raised in America, but with an Indian heritage and roots. So you're trying to always fit in the outside world, and then you come home and you're trying to fit in and trying to make the communication work. So on any given day, it's a lot of it's very malleable. It's not stiff, but it's very malleable. It's almost like clay. And so you have to keep the clay wet with your morals and your sensibility and give it the shape and the structure that you need it to be. And quite honestly, on some days, you just have to let it pass. As Sister Rini said, just let it be, just let it pass. And sometimes I just observe the communication back and forth that happens, and they'll look to me, and sometimes I'm saying the same thing in English. My mom, for instance, will be speaking in English, but it translates differently to my child. And then I'm saying the same thing in English, but it's the most comical thing. We are all speaking in English, for instance, and yet the meaning and the sense making is so warped because they all come from the layers of conditioning and layers of life experiences as a grandparent, and the emotional blanket of overwhelm and overstimulation that they bring from school and me trying to be the referee on some days, and sometimes just standing and just letting it all lay on the floor for it to unravel. And then they both come to some form of understanding. But every now and then I will intervene and say, that's respectful, that's not respectful. Or go back to uh, my mother, for instance, at a later point in time and say, she didn't really mean that. They don't say it like that. It's not a very loaded question. It's a very simple question, a very simple response. So that's how they see it. And my mom will try and explain how she sees it. Then quietly I'll go to my older one and sort of sit her down and say, grandma didn't mean that. She actually meant this. And then, so after like several hours, the two of them will meet and they'll find a way to sit next to each other and make it right. And, there's like a peacemaking negotiation. It's, of course, extremely comical and all in good humor and lightheartedness. But that's kind of, I'm painting the picture of any given day. It depends on what kind of a, weekday they've been having and all the different things that they're surrounded by.
No, thank you so much for painting that picture. I could just visualize it in front of my eyes. But a question was coming in my mind. Do you feel exhausted doing this referee job? And you use the term emotional regulation. So, how do you regulate your own emotions?
You got to the heart of it almost immediately, and I love that you sort of separated that and you touched on the pulse. Um, I confess that's and Sister Rini was extremely gracious, saying I'm practicing equanimity. I think that's my goal and that's my salvation. That's something that will be a lifetime pursuit. How can I continue to stay in my equilibrium and achieve equanimity with all the ups and all the downs that's happening? So I'm a work in progress, I confess. Punam, to your question, um, I have my days. I do have my days where I'm exhausted and I don't have anything left within me. And so every now and then I'll have a little bit of an outburst where the patience is low and the energy level is low. And so it's harder to do it tactfully and with a certain level of grace. So it just comes out like in black and white, very, very bare. And but then almost immediately the guilt kicks in, and then I will soften it up and I will make it right with the people. And for me, I think I am a big fan and I have a deeper, deeper appreciation for resets. I need my physical reset. I need my emotional reset. I need my neural reset. I need my spiritual reset. I'm very aware that my energy, when it is up and when my energy is low, I recognize the need to reset myself, and sometimes it looks like a nap on the couch, and sometimes it looks like a walk where I just step out and get some fresh air. And because it's getting dark so soon these days, now that we are in fall, I end up going to the gym and I expend my energy there. So even if I don't have the energy, I sort of, invoke the energy there to do movement, and then you draw the energy from others there when you see that. And uh, also, the other space that I deeply, deeply refer to is pranayam. I believe in breathing exercises, so I do that. I believe in meditation, so I need to sit quiet, still, and as Sister Rini said, just observe all the surge of emotions and just look at it, saying, "Huh, that's interesting. Okay, I had all that in me, huh?" And then the checklist of things to do come about, all the meetings that I have to get on and prepare for come about, and then I have to just stay with that. So there's that helps. And the physical reset comes in the form of yoga. Mornings, I try my earnest best to at least do 20 to 30 minutes of yoga online. And so some instances, I do some of the asanas with eyes closed. There's a routine with 20 minutes. So as you know the routine, you're doing that. So the idea is to internalize and you're more, physically aware of movement because your sense of eyesight is closed. So you're just looking inward. Emotions and the thoughts that emerge are so vibrant. Like you can, like they all sort of are grappling for my attention. But I have to continue with my asana with my eyes closed, saying, I'll get to it. I'll get to it. I know I have to get up and, turn on the instant pot, or I have to like get that thing going, or I'll have some ideas. Sometimes that happens too. I enjoy writing. So there's certain ideas that just sort of sparks up, and I am so compelled to go and grab my phone and just write it down before it evaporates. But I'm like, I'm going to let that pass. If it's meant to be, it'll come back to me. I'm going to let it pass. So those are some ways in which I try and cope with these resets.
Wow. You are really taking good care of your well-being, and you will be amazed to know Sister Rini used to be a Hatha yoga teacher, and I'm sure she can, share more. You are doing wonderful things, doing pranayama and, asanas, and you are into meditation. You know the technique, let these emotions pass. Sister Rini, anything else would you like to share on emotional regulation?
Yeah, I mean, I would say Viji is doing almost everything that one should be doing. So the only one thing I would say is that just touching the identity topic that we were touching earlier, wanted to add just one thing to it is that in all this happening and the doing and the change, everything, there is this great secret of life. And I think you're already touching that is that recognition of that which you are is absolutely still and silent. And that which you are never changes. And from that space, I find the energy that you have is coming from that space. Maybe you're not verbalizing it, but what I see is in you is that you're actually coming automatically from that space. That you're just knowing your changeless truth. You're aware that okay, things that need to be done will be taken care of. But right now, this is the moment for me to do my hatha yoga or whatever yoga you're practicing. This is the time for me to do this, and when it's time for that, it shall happen. But this is the time for this right now. So I see you're not rushing from one moment to the other at all. That's what I've gathered just from this little snippet of conversation we're having together. So that's lovely to see that despite such a busy schedule, you're able to take time out for pranayama, for yoga, for for your gym, and also for your meditation. It's wonderful. You're doing a wonderful job. I don't really have much to add. So thank you.
And I like the fact, Vijay, you said, hey, emotions are coming, meetings, thoughts are coming. I will take care of that afterward. But who am I, right? Like Sister Rini is reminding us that stillness, that peace, that calm, moment by moment, things are changing, but I am unchanging force, right? I can tell all these thoughts to take a pause. Like, I am busy doing my own regeneration or reset or re-energizing, right? So I am also amazed. You have so much to share with our parents. You are doing it all. You are a working mother. You are taking care of your children. You are taking care of your job. You're taking care of your elderly parents. You are doing great. So, thank you so much for sharing your journey with all of us. I'm sure you inspired many more parents to lead a happy, balanced life as you are doing. Feeling very grateful to have you with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. It's like I said, I'm a work in progress. No 2 days look the same, but the intention continues to remain strong. Like, how can I keep staying in my truth, as Sister Rini said, and recognizing that each day my best is going to look different. My energy level will keep oscillating. But how do I? It's almost like like a in music they have this thing with this ektara, so that you'll have as this music is playing, you have that one tune, that vibration which continues. It's that ektara, it's that one tune. And I'd probably translate it as a drum beat. Like there's that, you have different variations, but you have the same drum beat, the same frequency. So I try to find my own internal frequency, and when I deviate from there for too long, or I've spent days when I'm not done pranayam or have not done yoga, then my body starts communicating with me. Like you start feeling a little irritated, or you probably feel a little off center and stiffness, or your emotions are looking bigger than usual. And so it's a beautiful reminder to come back to that ektara or that drum beat to see, like, anchor yourself, find yourself again, and continue to be rooted. So that's a lifelong pursuit for me.
Absolutely. I think we all are work in progress, even though our kids are grown up. But I'm telling you, once a parent is always a parent. Our challenges might look like different, but I also feel we are work in progress. Sister Rini, would you like to say anything before we conclude today's episode?
You know what? I really find this is so important as this humility that comes from just knowing that it's not like I'm a perfect parent. There's no such thing as a perfect parent. And yes, there are certain ups and downs, highs and lows that my mind experiences. And to be able to demonstrate that to kids that it's okay to have these ups and downs, it's okay to have these highs and lows. And if I'm okay with my highs and lows and ups and downs, I'm also okay with your highs and lows and ups and downs. We may not even say it in words, but that's what we are really telling them and actually transmitting it to them non-verbally. So I find this humility in parents is very, very important. Like at times, if maybe you have overreacted, and you can go and tell them, I'm sorry, I was overreacting, and I'll make sure that I'm aware of that next time. And children want to see that kind of vulnerability in their parents, you know? And they don't want to just see some parent who's pretending to be very perfect all the time, right? So I find this kind of humility is a very beautiful gift to your children, that, you know what, my mom doesn't think that she's never wrong. And she's okay with her highs and lows. And that is why I find this is a beautiful gift to your children. So at the same time, you know that your perfection is not coming from your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings. Your perfection is coming from that iktara that you said, that silence behind all the entire symphony. Between each note, there is that silence. Behind each note, there is that silence. After and before each note, there is that silence. So silence is the ever-present background of who actually, that's what who we are, of our thoughts, feelings, all that changeful phenomenon. And just behind that, we are that iktara. That's a beautiful word. Thank you for sharing that with us. But yeah, it's that's what really, I mean, who we are, that silent, ever-present background. So I find that kind of really softens our foreground of just drama of experiences. It just gets softened by just our knowing that that which we are is just that ever-present, silent, undisturbed background of peace. And that's the great discovery of life. So thank you.
Such a beautiful conversation. So, again, thankful to both of you for joining us today. Enjoy your rest of the day.
You are listening to Mindful, Beautiful, and Thriving, a podcast series by Tharaka Foundation. As part of our youth series, we will be releasing new episodes every month, so make sure to continue to check those out. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we thank you so much for listening.